It's again a rare, it's a very common disease. If you see a person who starts suffering with the cancer, he dies with the cancer irrespective of his operated or cancer chemotherapies or radiotherapies or chemotherapies have been given. On the contrary, you may have noticed after a surgical chemotherapy, cancer bounces back with double strength. It comes with distant metastasis, not short metastasis or primary growth. We are not bothered with the primary growth, we are bothered for the distant growth or metastasis. Now all these diseases I used to find to be really discomfort to tell to the patients how are we going to deal with these patients. In fact, the journey started from this to find out, can we really find out some solution to these kind of conditions? And ultimately, the hypothesis which came to my mind was, this is a hypothesis which I practice in my practice as every talk I explain. This hypothesis speaks, whenever a disease comes to you, doesn't mean the systems have gone very much wrong. It indicates the communication between cell to cell has mismatched. Your body is in homeostasis. When there's a communication between cell to cell to function, it takes place properly. This is called a signaling system of your body. The moment signals are not passed from one cell to other cell, the body goes at unease. We call that a disease. We call it a disease. Now, if you analyze, can we have any drug molecule which can establish this communication between cell to cell? I don't think there is a single pharmacological drug which can do that. A pharmacological drug can only treat signs and symptoms. Nothing beyond that. So this was the idea which came to my mind. I started working on how do we do this. So we went back to the basic science to understand the living legend, a journey from pill to cell. Now we are in the era of pills. We talk of a pill for any treatment. We talk of a shot for any treatment. What do? All the pills just treat only signs and symptoms caused by disharmony of your body. You got to understand what I'm talking? Caused by the body, it just releases the signs and symptoms. How many of you might have come across such conditions where you might have failed to treat the patient with this disharmony, where the body has failed to treat? You might have come across in your practice? Yes? You feel yourself difficult to treat with the patient, face the patient, how do I do? What do I do? The only thing which can change this communication is a cell, which speaks to the environment, which speaks to the neighboring cell, and defines the disharmony taking place within the cell and the environment. Now, how this journey from a pill to cell changes your life, today I'm going to talk to you. This is what I'm going to talk to you today. The subject will be how pills will be replaced by cells in future. Next. This is general my journey of my workup in the stem cell technology in last 7 years which I have done. Usually this speaks of my work as a neurosurgeon, and then I have become a researcher. Basically now the practice of science has become so difficult. You might have understood many of the diseases we cannot treat because we don't know the background of the disease, how it has come. We only know to treat signs and symptoms. So time has come to bind your hands with the researchers, biotech researchers, which are defining the cellular pathologies, molecular pathologies, and to understand what's going wrong. And the role of clinician comes in to treat these conditions. So we need to work hand in glove with the researchers to find out solution to many of the conditions which I spoke just now. Next. As I told you, the basket will be containing the full of knowledge which you might not have thought what could happen in the future for us. I have brought the basket full of that knowledge which is going to be solution to almost all orphan diseases, rare diseases, genetic diseases, even autoimmune diseases, cancers, degenerative diseases, developmental degenerative diseases, or even infectious diseases. We will also see some role of therapies which are going to change the protocols of the treatment in future. The concept of regenerative medicine also I'll explain you in brief. People talk of stem cells. It's not only the stem cell. The science of stem cell is a part of regenerative medicine. It's a big umbrella. This umbrella covers up not only stem cells but adult cells, biological factors, then signaling factors, then scaffolds, then organ development technology, genomic science. It's a huge umbrella which covers up all type of biological applications to the human life, which possibly, if you remember in your school life when you learned 12th standard and 10th standard cell biology, that's what I'm going to talk today to you. Then we will see what are the current aspects and what are the diseases we apply these therapies. Then also we will see the drug discovery in a dish. What do you mean by drug discovery in a dish? That also we will see. And then how this science is changing the paradigm from conventional methods to the future science. Before we go ahead, I will definitely like to take you a small journey of the legends in regenerative medicine or science in a physics, a science with regenerative medicine, and some political leaders, what do they talk about the stem cell science in the future going to come. This is very important reason I'm going to just bring to you reason is that I'm going to show a video of one of the living legend in physics, Stephen Hawking. There's a thick relation between medical science and physics. If physics was not there, medical science would have not evolved at all. If you see application, it starts, whatever diagnostic tools you use, X-rays, CTs, MRIs, whatever you talk, those are applications of physics. In treatment, DNA chips, again application of physics. MRIs for treatment, again application. You take any gadget in the hand, is an application of physics, which is helping us to evolve the medical science. So I have selected few of them to understand, to make you, even the physicist who is the most believed on the earth, Stephen Hawking, what he talks about the stem cells, then any science which evolves cannot evolve without three important technologies. One is political power, second is finance, industry, and third is scientific brains. So let's see these three people, what they talk of stem cells in the future, what I'm going to take to you 100 years future, what's going to happen for you. Stephen Hawking.
I have spent my life exploring the mysteries of the cosmos. But there's another universe that fascinates me. The one hidden inside our bodies. Our own personal galaxies of cells. Today, we are on the brink of a new age in medicine, where we will be able to heal our bodies of any illness. All of it because of cells inside us which have special powers. They're called stem cells.
In a brief story of Stephen Hawking, he suffers from same orphan disease, motor neuron disease. He was diagnosed motor neuron disease at his age of 18s and 20s. Then the doctors had declared him another few years he will live. Today he is still alive. Can you believe? Though you find to be paralyzed him, his speech has a spacious voice box. His brain still works. Still he has given a black hole story to us. There is second parallel person, similar legend in the world today in biological science. His name is Robert Lanza. I don't have a video of him, but I'll just brief. These two people are opposite to each other. One is Robert Lanza, is a biologist, the most intelligent person on the earth today, fourth. who has defined in the laboratory RBC development, red blood corpuscle cells developed. Unfortunately, technology cannot reach to the human being, reason being the cost effectiveness. The cost is so high, as a treatment part it cannot be afforded. But he is a man who has defined biology as an evolution of the world, whereas Stephen Hawking has defined physics as evolution of the world. And both are very close friends and both defend each other. But let me share you, biology is the only science which has evolved the earth, not the physics. So if you happen to sometime see his videos or learn to him, you will get fascinated about him. Let's see one of the strongest, our popular leader. Next. Our Prime Minister, what he talks of the stem cell in the Parliament.
The Mahajan Nobel laureate, scientist Mahajan.
Why is it a problem?
उन्होंने स्टेम सेल के अंदर जो रिसर्च की है, मैंने जितना पढ़ा था तो मेरे मन में आया था शायद इनकी माइक स्पीकर क्योंकि मैं जानता हूँ मेरे देश के आदिवासी और आदिवासियों को परंपरागत सिकल सेल की भयंकर बीमारी से जूझना पड़ता है। जापान मेरे कार्यक्रम में मैंने एक कार्यक्रम क्या जोड़ा, मैं वहाँ एक नोबेल लॉरिएट साइंटिस्ट या तो इसलिए किया गया, उन्होंने स्टेम सेल के अंदर जो रिसर्च की है, मैंने जितना पढ़ा था तो मेरे मन में आया था शायद इनकी खोज हमारे काम आ सकती है, क्योंकि मैं जानता हूं मेरे देश के आदिवासी और आदिवासियों को परंपरागत रूप से सिकल सेल की भयंकर बीमारी से जूझना पड़ता है और सिकल सेल की बीमारी कैंसर से भी भयंकर होती है। जिन्होंने सिकल सेल की बीमारी वालों के विषय में पूछा तो पता चलेगा कि कितनी पीड़ादायक होती है और पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी चलती है। अभी तक उसकी कोई दवाई नहीं मिली। एक आशा लगी है कि स्टेम सेल के द्वारा सिकल सेल की बीमारी से हम गए तो वहां गए, उनसे चर्चा की और बेंगलोर के हमारे साइंस इंस्टीट्यूट का आज उस दिशा में हमारा काम हो रहा है कि स्टेम सेल के द्वारा हमारे युवा साइंटिस्ट को खोज करें। मेरे आदिवासी भाइयों को पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी जो परेशानियों से जिंदगी गुजारनी पड़ती है, उससे वो हम ऑस्ट्रेलिया में जीवन के सभी को।
So let's see. This was very important to show you, reason being that you should know what our leaders are taking this country where, and we should become a part and parcel of the journey. At the same time, if you remember in 1990s, 2005 and around 2000, stem cell research was banned in US, particularly embryonic stem cell. Recently, Obama lifted the stem cell research. Federal funding for the stem cell research in US also. Let's listen to what he talks of the rare disease where we are going ahead. The entire world is leaving a leader, so why we not? Let's listen in.
Today, with the executive order I am about to sign, we will bring the change that so many scientists and researchers, doctors and innovators, patients and loved ones have hoped for and fought for these past 8 years. We will lift the ban on federal funding for promising embryonic stem cell research. We will also vigorously support scientists who pursue this research. And we will aim for America to lead the world in the discoveries it one day may yield. You know, at this moment, the full promise of stem cell research remains unknown, and it should not be overstated. But scientists believe these tiny cells may have the potential to help us understand and possibly cure some of our most devastating diseases and conditions, to regenerate the severed spinal cord and lift someone from a wheelchair, to spur insulin production and spare a child.
After listening to these leaders who are not having scientific background, they do have scientific knowledge. They do are talking about the stem cells. They are do expecting these tiny workers in our body will change our perspective of thinking about the diseases. When I was talking about the research in US, if you see, after the federal government removed the ban on expenditure on the stem cell research in US, if you could see the ratio of the people who believe strongly in favor of stem cell research, it's a huge number. It's a huge number. Next. Globally, if you see the stem cell research, US is the leader. If you see an blue ball, you can understand the world's largest research is going on there, where the funding not only from the government, from the private, from the industry, from the scientists, from the institutions, from the universities. Whereas if you see the ratio of India at lower down, where we stand in the research of stem cells or any scientific research, we hardly have an efficiency and inclination to look for the research in the sciences. That is the reason why the Americans can dictate the term of science and research. The globally talk of any industry in US, billions of dollars are funded, billions of dollars are funded. I have an opportunity to visit regularly to our state university, and I find wonderful happenings in science there, whereas we hardly an exposure of chance. Whereas India has equal opportunity because we have a subject power, a huge subject power, huge number of diseases, huge number of applications, but we hardly incline towards look after it. This ratio showing is important for you people. I need to take this subject to the common man. I'm coming to the rural area for a reason. As I told you, Robert Lanza has worked on a molecule of RBC manufacturing in the lab, but it cannot reach to the common man. Reason being that the cost is not affordable. Whereas technologies which are evolved and reach to the common man have perceived consistently and evolved for the evolution of the human life. Those sciences have remained in practice and supported to the human life. Stem cells are mainstreams. When you talk of stem cells are in mainstream means, if you go to any conference globally or even local conference anywhere, you will find one speaker from stem cells or integrative medicine. Go where you go to gynec conferences, they will see application of stem cells in gynec disease, infertility particularly, use subject. I will refer here name of infertility, reason being that you remember I told you what is being happening today as a research and what is taught to us is totally different. Our infertility concept is that the females are born with the fixed numbers of ovum. They have a reserve of banking small, and which with each ovulation they get exhausted. That is what is the definition of infertility taking place in human. That's what has been taught to us. But if you happen to see the new concept, ovarian stem cells are along the ovarian wall. They do produce ovarian stem cells. Similarly in testes, venospermatids, sperm stem cells, they produce the sperms. The concepts are changing. As I also spoke about the cancer stem cells exist. That is the reason it bounced back again. So I appreciate this kind of conferences or CMEs which are arranged. They bring you to understand really globally what science is changing. Mainstream indicates the success stories of the patient, research molecules, research publications coming from different parts of the world, which will give an idea, yes, are these diseases treatable? What's happening pathological level? Spinal cord injuries, could we imagine a person can walk back again? We can't imagine. Could we imagine the sickle cell anemia being treated? We can't imagine. Rheumatoid arthritis, simple disease, we call it. Can you imagine, can we do something for these patients? Yes, we can do all the wonders. And you talk of any kind of electronic media, newspaper, journal, you will find some article coming out. Maybe as a critic, maybe positive, maybe negative. But whatever is there, when something is spoken, means something is happening. Next. If you happen to see, these are the non-medical people, but recognized globally. Nancy Reagan, what she talks, science has presented us with a hope called stem cell research, which may provide our scientists with answers that have no longer been beyond our grasp, which I have been telling to you. Which we, our minds cannot imagine. These things could happen. This is not a matter of using an embryo that has the potential to produce a life. Rather, these are otherwise discarded embryos that have potential to save lives. We are not talking of embryos to throw away, which are embryos which are going to be used for production. Okay, fine. But those which are non-producible, which are not utilized in the lab, can save life of millions of people. We are not talking of one life, we are talking of millions of life. Stem cell research is the most promising research in the healthcare, perhaps in the history of the world, and we should not be left behind in this research. This is what I always wish, what US talks about, why India should not. Even we can do. If the potential of stem cell research is realized, it would mean at the end of suffering of millions of people, if stem cell research succeeds, there isn't a person in the country who won't believe or know somebody who will. These are the legends, people who talk about this research. In between, I'm going to talk about one of the most famous person, Christopher Reeve, on the spinal cord injury. What happened to him next? Historical aspect. Carl Ernest, 100 years before, he was one who spoke about the stem cells, particularly hematopoietic. It took a journey of 120 years from there for the applications to come from tables to the benches. This is called the translational medicine. Translational medicine means going from different levels of research, from table as we call them clinical trials, phase 1, 2, 3, AB, and phase 4 where we go as a commercial, as a drug molecule. It took 120 years. There are certain milestones if you speak in between. In 1996, Clone Lab and Wilmot was one of the Irish scientists. Dolly the ship story we all know. We do the Nobel laureates. It took 10 years because Ian Wilmot worked along with the 19 to 2006, the first induced pluripotent cell came in the world, which was defined by Shinya Manika and Gordon. It took 10 years for them to bring the story of Dolly ship from an embryonic stem cell, which was the problems defined by the world to kill the embryo. He brought a new technology where we call that induced pluripotent cell. It took 20 years. The Nobel Prize was declared in 2012, whereby the world got to know Gordon and Adam, and this it took 100-year journey from bench to bell. Next. There's one small photograph I have shown. There's a Prometheus, a story of Prometheus. I'll give a small story, Greek story. The Greek story speaks, even in mythology, in the Greek stories also, if you find, Prometheus is the god of Greek people, and his assistant was there, who used to take care of his kingdom. They had created human life, and the assistant, by hiding from Prometheus, gave the light to the human being to fire the foods. And when the god came to know about this story, he punished him by asking eagle to bite his liver. Means they knew liver is a fast generating organ. The person did not die but suffered for years together. It was a punishment given. And then you will find this kind of stories in mythology also. Reprogramming of the somatic stem cell, 2012, Nobel laureate, Shinya Manika and Gordon. This story remains, how do we reverse the biological? We have two ages. One is biological age, second is chronological age. Chronological age means calendar wise. Whenever we celebrate our birthday, we celebrate the calendar birthday, which speaks your chronological age from your birth time to till you understand the power of this cell, God cell. This is one cell which has the strength to express 30,000 genes. Can you imagine? Its mitochondria has got 5,000 genes. Can you imagine? It has a differentiation potential of totipotency. If in the first few days, where 1:2, 2:4, 4:8 and 8:16 morula forms, if I take the 16 embryonic stem cells from this morula and put implant in 16 uterus, you can create 16 like human beings. 16 total like, that's cloned human beings. That is called as totipotency. Can you imagine the power? It is beyond our mind. We have learned as a process of learning, but we never expected this science will change so much. We never expected. Even for me, till I started to learn this, it was a big shock for me how science has evolved. We never expected the power of this cell. 220 types of cells can be differentiated from this single cell, from hair to nail. Our body is composed of 150 trillion cells. Can you imagine zeros? 150 trillion cells are composed. They are coming from where? One cell. Just single cell. This is the strength of this cell. If this cell is generating you, why this cell cannot treat you? Imagine. If the cell is generating you, why this cell cannot treat you? Ask questions to yourself. You will get answers to it. Whoever talks whatever, but the answers are that these cells have a potential strength to make your entire body. Each day, as I spoke to you, morula to blastocyst, the earlier video which I showed you was a morula to blastocyst. It speaks that the inner cell mass and outer cell mass. The first expression of the gene takes place as CDXR4. The moment it expresses, it loses the power. It loses the power of differentiation. In this, the inner cell mass has a potential to differentiate of only now the cells of 220 types, but not the extraembryonic tissue, that is the placenta cord. That is done by external cell mass. EMC, that is done by external cellular mass. Now, as the embryo grows, each of these inner cell mass starts differentiating into tissue cells, specialized cells. That is called ontogenesis. This ontogenesis becomes responsible to create your liver tissue, kidney tissue, brain tissue, bone tissue, muscle tissue, testicular tissue, ovarian tissue. All these are the products from this cell coming. Each gene expresses, the cell differentiates. Each gene expresses, cell differentiates. It takes a path of lineage to make your body, and make by 4th or 5th month your organs start development, and by 7th month baby is fully generated. It assembles all the organs that we call as organogenesis, and the baby is developed fully and born with the weight of 2.5 kg and 25 inches. We never expect. We never try to learn all these things. This is a science which brings you to understand the strength of this cell. Now, if these cells are making your organs, cannot these cells treat your deafening organs? Can these cells treat your organs or not failing? Do you find answer in your questions? Yes, my friends? Yes. If they are developing organs in the body, can I not use these cells of my own? I will still make simple for you. Have you ever thought how you have become 60 kg in by 20 years of your age? Have you ever thought? Who has made you? Who has made you 60 kg? 6 feet long? Stem cells. Remember, if they are not, we are not. We cannot live. A plastic anemia, you know the story of what happens? A plastic anemia. Hematopoietic stem cells gone. The child is dead. Child is dead. You understood the stem cell now? I'm making it more easier for you to understand. If it is not there, we are not there. It is our strength. It's our life. It can generate. If while you are growing from 2.5 kg to 60 kg, by using stem cells from your bone marrow, which has got mesenchymal stem cells, which has got hematopoietic stem cells, which has got adult multipotent stem cells, these cells are one which are developing your organs. They supply to all body. I'm making you brief to understand. Every organ has a stem cell. Next. Every organ has a stem cell. That is called adult multipotent stem cells. They maintain the wear and tear of your organ. You happen to suffer from hepatitis, you go back to the liver. Who treats? Doctor just prescribes a pill to treat the sign and symptom, but it doesn't regenerate the liver tissue. Stem cells from the liver. You get a brushing injury. We put ointment. We take a pill, painkiller. We take an antibiotic. Who heals you? There's a EPCs, epidermal stem cells. Epidermal stem cells, ESCs we call them, has a 5 multi-range potential. It can make your hair, it can make your melanocyte, it can make your sweat gland, it can make your sebum gland. One cell. It heals from the stem cell, not by us. We don't do anything. We just try to treat signs and symptoms. My dictum to all of you is that we carry your repairing kits in our body. This is the strength of my knowledge which I pass on to my colleagues. You should not forget, your body has a strength of healing power. The initial part of few weeks is a totipotent cell, which has got a cloning potential. It can generate the embryonic as well as extra-embryonic tissue. The entire baby, as I told you, can be generated. The second comes the pluripotent stem cells, has a potential to make 220 types of cells in the body, comes from the inner cell mass, and adult multipotent cells, which I am talking right now. Next. These adult multipotent stem cells are the mesenchymal stem cells which are present in our body, every organ. They maintain the wear and tear of your organs. They also overcome the diseases to heal you properly. They are limited to tissues. Adult sources are from your bone marrow, adipose tissue. Those cells which are not utilized in the function of the body, those goes deposit along the capillaries in the adipose tissue. Those we call them the pericyte cells. These pericyte cells have a potential of mesenchymal cells. We have two types of one, hematopoietic and mesenchymal. Hematopoietic maintain the lineage of your blood and blood products, where the mesenchymal maintain the wear and tear of your body. This has been learned in just recent 2006. Next. As I told you of embryonic blastocyst, next.